Put it in and just put it in the corner there. Ready? Put the chunks in.
Do I just drop it?
No, hold it. Put the chunks down a bit more. Yeah, there you go. It sees the food. Move your hand clear. Okay.
I'm Steve Liebman. The two stories you're about to see happened almost 40 years apart. But while separated by a generation, they're remarkably similar. In December 2003 on Queensland's Sunshine Coast, 13-year-old Daniel Walker disappears while on his way to buy Christmas presents for the rest of his family. Crime Investigation Australia will retrace Daniel's last movements and feature moving interviews with members of his family. But first, we turn the clock to Sydney.
Oh my god!
The crime that's committed that is so brutal it leaves an
That came out of nowhere.
nation stunned by its cruelty.
It was like permanent. Yeah. Do you see how it sneaked up on it? It sneaked up on it like saying, I'm not going to kill you. And it goes, boom. No. So now it'll just strangle it, won't it?
Yeah.
Why does it smell in it? Does it eat it?
Yeah.
The Sydney Opera House, probably the world's most recognisable 20th century building.
As a diamondback tree python.
This
is a diamondback tree python.
Is linked to one of the most infamous crimes in Australia's history. When construction began on this Australian icon in the late 1950s, it was partially funded by a huge lottery, the Opera House Lottery. First prize, £100,000. That's around $5 million in today's currency. But for one man and his family, the dream of winning the Opera House Lottery turned into a nightmare. It sparked a crime so shocking that it stunned and saddened an entire nation. And it sparked a police investigation of extraordinary sophistication for its time.
I was eating it from the back.
It was a case that would mark the origin of modern forensic science in Australia. The year is 1960. Sydney is a young city with a population of almost 2 million. There are few skyscrapers, and the Sydney Harbour Bridge dominates the skyline. Trams trundle the streets, and Bondi is news. The Thorns' 8-year-old son, Graham Thorn, is a student at one of Sydney's most respected private schools, Scots College in Bellevue Hill, not far from
That takes some
Bondi.
water now, isn't it, in there?
Yeah. Thursday, July 7th, 1960, is shaping up as a sunny, winter's day. Frida Thorn sends Graham off to school, and it's the same routine each morning. Graham leaves his home here in Edward Street at 8:30, turns into Wellington Street, and heads down to the corner of O'Brien Street. There he waits for a family friend, Mrs. Phyllis Smith, who normally drives Graham to school along with her 2 sons.
How come Maggie doesn't get a biscuit?
On this particular morning, a schoolmate spots Graham walking towards his normal corner.
Hey, Mika.
A few minutes later, Phyllis Smith arrives at the corner, but there's no sign of the boy. She sends one of her sons to look for him, and then goes straight to the Thorns' flat. Frida, sensing something might be terribly wrong, contacts Bondi police. Sergeant Larry O'Shea is the first on the scene.
Walked into the place and Mr. Thorne was there and the phone rang. She answered and then she handed it to me. I took the receiver and spoke into the phone and this bloke said, I've got your son and he's on £25,000 and if I don't get him by 5 o'clock I'll feed him to the sharks. I was shocked, all right. I couldn't believe that happened.
The threatening caller, speaking in a European accent, says he'll phone again later in the day. A shaken Sergeant O'Shea calls Bondi Police Station for reinforcements. Lloyd Noonan is a detective based there.
Got to go for right away. Boy's gone missing.
We're at the station when police station in Bondi when Sergeant O'Shea contacted us to tell us that they think that there might be serious crime and we should get up to the house as soon as possible.
Detective Sergeant Ken Beret is the boss of Bondi Detectives.
Cars queued up inside the place, which we really, in the case of kidnapping, wanted to be kept quiet.
And get disliked by animal lovers as well, right?
Despite police efforts to keep the story quiet, Daily
At least we
Mirror
get to see what
reporter
happens
Bill
close up.
Terry acts on a tip-off.
I was in
Oh, looks like he's gonna come and eat the camera.
And Dave Dixon, who was one of our police rounds guys with connections, he got a tip off that the boy was missing, and I was
It's been
dispatched
6
to
minutes.
Wellington Street Bondi to make inquiries to see what was happening. At that stage, there was never any question that a kidnapping was unheard of. You know, kidnapping in Australia, even the hardest criminals wouldn't have done it to a child. So I just went out there and thinking I got interview somebody about.
Oh, it's dragging it away
missing.
now.
Yeah, I lost the kid.
Oh my god.
So I knocked on the door.
It was like death star in the camera.
The police sergeant asked me, so what do you want? And I prepared to identify myself from the Daily Mirror and could I speak to Mr. Thorne? And he said to me, look, if you've got any compassion, you'll go away or you will leave.
See the feet is stuck on the side of his mouth and he can't get them in.
Sobbing and moaning.
I think he has to throw it up and to get it back in. The guy is sleeping.
I don't care for to come forward with his demands without anybody knowing about it, so we would take the necessary action.
The story is broken by legendary crime reporter Bill Jenkins in the afternoon paper. Frida Thorne, driving around Bondi with detectives searching for her son, sees the Daily Mirror poster. She is devastated.
Kelly, I remember she came back to the flat where they were living and she was most upset. We had to settle her down because of that headline in the news.
Basil Thorne is in northern New South
I
Wales
can't
on
see it. I see him
business when
coming
Graham
up.
goes missing. On his return to Sydney Airport, he's told that his son has been kidnapped. That evening, less than 12 hours after Graham's disappearance, Basil goes to Bondi Police Station, and under the glare of television lights, he makes this impassioned appeal.
When you feel like all I can say is children of his own, but for God's sake, send him back in one piece.
It's running away.
But he doesn't want to see it anymore.
When 8-year-old Graham Thorne is kidnapped
making
on
a
his
bad
way to school,
decision for
and
me
a
to
demand
record.
for a £25,000 ransom is made, a massive police operation swings into action. Detective Sergeant Ernie Freeman is in charge. He's a tough, no-nonsense cop with years of serious crime investigation behind him. Freeman and his men are deeply concerned for Graham's safety. Many of them are fathers themselves, and even the most hard-bitten of policemen are upset and emotional, finding it hard to believe that such a thing could happen in their city.
Unbelievable. Nobody could comprehend that somebody would kidnap somebody for ransom. We'd all, of course, heard of the Lindbergh case in America where the man had filled the land for the first time. They could be seen he also was killed too. But no, it was unheard of. The crime was unheard of. Nobody in their wildest imagination would have thought somebody would do it.
When the news spreads throughout Australia that a young boy has been kidnapped, the public is anxious and incensed. Olympic swimming legend Dawn Fraser recalls the public mood.
Yes, the whole team was preparing for the Olympics, the Rome Olympics in 1960, and then
I think it's got his foot inside the mouth.
You know, to see terrible headlines. It was, you know, one couldn't believe what was happening here in this country, because he was a beautiful
It's a slow
big team,
process.
preparing to compete
Like, that's a big
in one of
mouth
the
for
biggest
it.
sporting events in the world, and yet we had the stigma of an 8-year-old boy being kidnapped because his mother and father had won an off-the-house lottery.
A general alarm is issued. Police begin monitoring major roads, air and seaports. They search every conceivable hiding place and even enlist the help of some of Sydney's most notorious criminals, as Detective Pat Manning explains.
Oh, no argument. We had all the heavy crims, and like I mentioned, the ones that are dead, if you like, the McPhersons and the Freemans and all of those colourful characters that occupied the
Look,
country.
he's just struggling a bit.
They let all their
He's
boys
very
loose.
starts to laugh.
They let everyone through the cross and everywhere find out who did this.
It's gone. Oh, you can still see it. You still see the little nose in its mouth.
But they were clearly being
And try to get inside his mouth.
The New South Wales government reacts to public anger and considers making kidnapping a capital offence.
We propose amending the Crimes Act to deal with
What happened to his jaw? Yeah, what happened to his jaw?
Oh, there he goes. Back in place.
Oh yeah, but I forgot he can dislocate it. You get it in.
will provide a maximum penalty of 10 years. I think, and
Ready
I'm
for the
sure
laugh a bit?
everybody in this state of ours thinks that that's altogether too small.
The government posts a reward of
I am
£5,000
laughing.
for
Why does he do
information
like the head
leading to
shake?
the arrest
I think to like push it down a bit more.
Kidnapper. Newspaper
Say
publishers
hi to
offer
camera.
another £15,000.
He wants another one. He's like,
Rupert
hey.
Murdoch has
I think
just
he thinks it's food. Hey, I eat more?
Ezra Norton.
Say
By the
goodbye.
next morning, the story of Graham Thorne's kidnapping is dominating the news.
It's time to go home. Hey, you actually listened.
Thousands
Let's
of
go.
calls are pouring
Where we
into
going?
police. Detective Sergeant Larry Foley, a 26-year veteran, is assigned
Okay.
the task of setting up a nerve